Welcome back to the channel. Massive releases, Becky's shocking confession, Stone Cold's teasing one more match, and I'm rewriting NWO history, and you don't want to miss this one.
Hey, it's Scott Barrett, and you're back with the burning truth. And back with me once again is Mr. 368 episodes himself. It's Matt Burns, everybody.
Love it. Love it. Thank you. I still find it shocking that it has been that many episodes.
I can't believe you've been on every single one.
I have no idea how I've managed to do it, but I've been very lucky.
Hey, you're here. That's the main thing, Matt Burns. You are here. How's it going this week? Having a good week? Everything going well?
Weird. It's been very warm.
Yeah,
very warm.
Cooled down a little bit tonight as we're recording on Sunday night, but
yes,
it's not quite. Are you ready for this? It's not quite Sunday night heat, but it's.
I'd say more like a Sunday night simmer.
Yeah, it's cooling down a little bit for me. I don't know how you are, where you are, Matt Burns, but really interesting week in the world of wrestling. Like you said, we've got loads to talk about.
We do. But as always, we've got one thing to address before we even go there.
Really?
Yeah, of course we do. So, Scott, how are you?
How am I? Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. I'm loads going on. I'm a little bit hungry. I've ordered a pizza, so if I disappear, it's because the pizza man's here. That rhymed. I'm a poet and I didn't know it.
I love it.
Loads of stuff going on this week. Major releases, like you said. We'll talk through those. I think we'll talk as we go through, but I've saved the biggest piece of news today for last because I really want to talk about this. I think it's a massive shift change for WWE particularly. So there's that. And I think all in all, we're in a really good place. I think there's been quite a lot of backlash over the WWE creative post WrestleMania.
Yeah, and it was almost a bit of a tease there of what we did during the last week as well. What you just said there.
If you haven't seen that already, you can go back on the channel. Make sure you use the subscribe button below and check out our channel. But last week we did a two-part watch along of Backlash 1999, and whilst we were on there, we talked about loads of things, including what happened at WrestleMania, what happened post WrestleMania, the Raw after WrestleMania, plus the SmackDown after WrestleMania, and just all our thoughts on current wrestling. But I think there's still more to talk about in that space, Matt Burns. There's still more to dissect, to pull apart, because I don't think it's as bad as everybody's making out. I don't know what your thoughts are going to be.
Yeah. It's almost like we've got a collection of data, some information all gathered together for a certain segment, maybe.
Oh, okay. If you want to go there, we'll go there, Matt Burns. Where are we going?
We're going straight to the news.
Right then. Let's talk about the news, Matt Burns. Let's talk first about the 15+1 releases for WWE. So I'm unsure whether we need to go through the entire list, whether you've got it in front of you, Matt Burns, whether people watching this will be aware.
The biggest shocker, I have got the list in front of me.
There you go. So do you want to take us through the wrestlers that were already announced as released, and then I'll add the 16 to your 15.
Yeah. This is in no order. I'm going to say it right now. We have got Wolfgang, Shayna Baszler, Riley Osborne, Oro Menza, Mark Coffey, Caden Carter, Katana Chance, Joe Coffey, Xavier Bernal, Jakara Jackson, Gigi Dolan, Eddie Thorpe, Danny Palmer, Dakota Kai, Cora Jade, and Braun Strowman.
Oh, off the top, Matt, just right off the top, Dakota Kai is such a terrible business decision. I mean, for me anyway. Maybe that's just because I really like her, but I think that's a terrible decision to get rid of Dakota Kai. I feel a little bit about getting rid of Dakota Kai is a bit like when they got rid of Ruby Riot.
Yes.
She was another one that I thought, what a waste. What an absolute waste of talent we've done there. Cora Jade just come back from injury. Could have done so much, but obviously they made the decision there. Gigi Dolan, somebody else who could have come to the main roster and done a bit. Jakara Jackson shocked me quite a lot as well, Matt Burns.
Yeah.
Caden Carter and Katana Chance didn't necessarily surprise me. They haven't done a great deal on WWE TV over the last couple of years.
The weird thing about it is that one doesn't surprise me, but does at the same time. And the reason being, it doesn't surprise me because they haven't been on TV much at all. So that's why I'm not surprised there. But I am surprised is because, you've got an entire women's division, almost set for, women's tag team wrestling, and you just got rid of a stable.
Probably the only tag team. Yeah. What else? Shayna Baszler didn't surprise me. Massively underused and will probably hopefully do better elsewhere. She's one that I would earmark for an AEW run.
I would earmark her for an AEW run, but then again, just on her recent appearances on Josh Barnett's Bloodsport.
Can you imagine a program? And I'm quite happy to pre-book this 1 week, Matt Burns. Can you imagine a program where Shayna Baszler debuts in AEW and goes straight after timeless Tony Storm? I mean,
wow.
I know, right? But let's book it now. My mind's been percolating ever since I heard that. Actually, it's made me want to get back on TEW, Total Extreme Wrestling, this week. It really has, genuinely. Braun Strowman didn't necessarily surprise me either, Matt Burns. I know we're going to talk about him in a bit more detail in a minute. I tell you what didn't surprise me as well was Gallus.
Yeah.
And it's a shame for those guys, but they never looked like they were going to go up to the main roster.
No.
You can't stay in NXT anymore. If you're there more than a couple of years, and we've proven it here with Eddie Thorpe, if it doesn't look like you're going up, you're out now.
Yeah, which is sort of I can understand that position to a degree because they wanted to keep that door revolving, bringing in the new
clues in the name, isn't it? Who's next?
Yeah, and the scary thing about it is, especially when you've got other shows like Legends and Future Greats as well, because I might have some interesting news that could be an additional to the LFG. Can every one of you remember the super fan of Bayley's on NXT? And in case I didn't hear you or have any response, I'll fill the in straight away. Can everybody remember Little Izzy on the that used to be there, always there, ready for a hug and everything? She's now a proper independent wrestler who's making a name for herself and is supposedly rumored to be on the Leeds and Future Greats season 2.
There you go. Right, let's add number 16 to your 15 then, Matt Burns.
Please do.
Former NXT Women's Tag Team Champion Shotzi has confirmed her departure from WWE this week after her contract was not renewed. So she expressed gratitude for the time with the company and enthusiasm for future opportunities. But she just sort of formed a little trio with Gigi Dolan and and somebody else. That'll come to me in a minute on NXT. So I was slightly surprised that she was also departing, but this isn't a release as much as it's a non-renewal.
It's the difference. The difference is the ones that are released don't get to go straight into business for themselves, whereas she's got the capability of going straight into another company.
Yeah, absolutely. And another one a bit like, for me, maybe similar to a Dakota Kai and Ruby Soho, is she now? Where I just think there was so much more on the bone with Shotzi and Dakota, and we could have done so much more with. So a bit disappointing for me, this one. I thought I thought she was really different. You know, the tank aesthetic coming to the ring. She could have been a 2 or 3 time women's champion on the main roster by now if we'd followed that through in the right way. I just feel like we've gone in other directions on the shows with some of the characters that we've backed and the stories that we've told, and that's no one's fault. It's just how not everybody can be the top guy, I suppose, right? Is always going to be not everybody can always be featured.
Yeah, it's tough doing that because especially not everyone can be featured every week. Not everyone can be on at all times. But at the same time, I feel as though with WWE, they've at least got some showcase to be able to feature certain talent, be it either on Raw, SmackDown, NXT, main event.
Yeah. Speed.
Because Speed is another one.
But if you're not being featured, that becomes really difficult, right?
Yeah, it becomes you're in catering. Where do you go to next?
Yeah.
So
exactly.
you've then either got to come up with a plan for yourself, or make sure it's only for yourself and not for anybody else to fill in that role. But then you've also got to do it in a way that you don't look like you're trying to take over the creative.
Yeah.
As well.
So let's just move on ever so slightly from Shotzi and go back to Braun Strowman, because I know you wanted to talk a little bit about this. Braun Strowman is the release that's probably most shocked some people, not so much me, but some people, because it turns out his release is based more on cost cutting. So he's been released based on his high salary not aligning with his current usage. So decision is part of a broader roster cutting plan following WrestleMania. I think they're looking at a budget here, and sometimes you see this quite a lot with soccer, with English football, where we might be paying somebody £300,000 a week who was a main player, but now is maybe getting a little bit past it, or we're just not featuring as much as they used to, and so we want to remove that wage from the wage bill. And it looks like that's what we've done with Braun Strowman. And I know you're going to talk about his accolades, etc., but I think this is a prudent move on WWE's part.
It's prudent, but at the same time, it's a double-edged sword with this one. And I'll explain why, because at the same time, there was also a bit of an old interview with William Regal I want to sort of address that might come into this a little bit. Simply because when it comes to the situation, yes, Braun Strowman did what he needed to do. Yes, he was a former Universal Champion, beating Goldberg, filling in. He's always been a good filling. And yes, he did do his roles. But lately, what has he done lately? Most of the time,
things I remember him doing was putting over some of the new monsters, so the likes of Bronson Reed.
Yeah.
Which is exactly what the Big Show did for Braun Strowman before the Big Show moved on.
Yeah, but at the same time, at least with Big Show, he's still got a bit of more credibility than Braun Strowman. That's not dissing Braun Strowman, because at least with Big Show, he's a household name.
Yeah.
Right. But I feel as though at the moment, it's to them, it could look like he's an expensive jobber.
Yeah.
The world's most expensive jobber.
Just an expensive mid-carder, to be fair, because he's only been in matches where potential US title shots have been on the line, etc.
Yeah. And additionally, aside from that, you can sit there and say whatever you want to say. And an interview with William Regal says it best. You're not on TV as much. You're not everything that. You're not doing as much on the TV. You're side gated, and what's the first thing that gets that gets under fire immediately? Not the wrestler, the writing team immediately, because they've got nothing for you. And Regal just goes, yeah, they might not have something for you at the same time, but what have you presented to them to give them something to write about you?
Yeah, and I think that's been talked about before, hasn't it? Equally, though, sometimes you can sit outside of somebody's office for years in those jobs and never get, as much of a sniff. So I think it's a double-edged sword, that. But I do agree with what you're saying. Let's leave the
Braun Strowman and the
releases aside.
Yeah,
and let's move on. I want to talk about Becky Lynch this week, because I want a recent episode of Raw, or this week's episode of Raw, more importantly, Becky Lynch admitted to be the one that attacked Bayley backstage at WrestleMania, which prevented her from competing. And then Becky Lynch cited unresolved issues dating back to 2019 as a motivation. What do we feel about this? This seems like a bit thin to me, but
it has a little bit of clarity, a little bit, not much. But I'm wondering if this could be WWE's way of sort of clarifying a little bit of the history, well, sort of the WWE Untold.
Can I be really honest?
Yeah.
This feels like AEW booking. It genuinely does. This feels like these two had an issue in Ring of Honor 25 years ago, and now you're supposed to care when they're having a feud.
Yeah.
That's what it feels like.
I can see where you're coming from.
Is that not the same thing as what they're doing here? These two fell out in 2019, and now you're supposed to care 6 years later that they're eventually going to have a match. Come on.
Not exactly wrong, but bear in mind that if we had the original plans, it wouldn't have been on Bayley at all. If they had the original WrestleMania plans.
What was that then?
The original WrestleMania plans.
Yeah.
For Becky Lynch, it was Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch versus Io Sky and Asuka.
Oh, right. Yeah. I bet that.
And everything. Yeah. But on that list, I don't see a Bayley on there, which makes me question what's going on. You know,
maybe that was always the plan, though, Matt Burns. You don't know that the original plan wasn't Bayley and Charlotte versus Io and whoever. And Bayley still would have been attacked and been replaced by Becky Lynch. You don't know that.
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah. But either way, that's got to be a bit of a stinger for Bayley, looking like you're leading into WrestleMania for a big payday, and then day of the show. Whoop!
I am excited by this Lyra Valkyria Becky Lynch feud, though. If I can just talk about that for a second, because I do feel like we're finally getting something for Lyra Valkyria to sink her teeth into. And I actually saw a bit of personality this week on Raw from Lyra Valkyria, which has been missing completely for me. Yeah. She's been probably the we were really excited for Chelsea Green to win the US title, right? Io Sky has been nothing but fabulous since picking up the WWE women's title.
It's Io.
Tiffany Stratton's booking has been quite consistent, in that she has had personal issues continuously. You know, she's been featured heavily on TV. She's had personal issues. We're moving into another one with Nia Jax now, or a restarting of that. But like, Lyra Valkyria's had absolutely zero for me.
I just felt as though I'm champ. Come fight me.
Yeah. That's it. And that doesn't work. That's what they did with Bayley following last year's WrestleMania, which is why a title reign flopped, right?
Yeah, it didn't exactly work. So
you got to give these people personal issues.
You've got to give a bit of personality with it, a bit of oomph. And the weird thing about it is, a person who can literally fit into this role, John Cena, with his United States Championship Open Challenge.
Yeah, but at least they did something with him with the Open Challenge. Lyra Valkyria hasn't got the sort of I know what you're saying. She hasn't got she hasn't got the presence to hold that down yet. So I'm glad we're seeing some personality from her in this personal issue.
Yeah, because, she was too busy fixating on Island girls. And I thought that was a really nice touch. But I feel as though at the moment, Bayley's probably agreed to this to sort of help Lyra.
1,000%.
And she's always been...
I don't think she would have come back as a heel if it wasn't to fight Lyra Valkyria. I don't think she would have thought it was the right thing for a character, but I think putting Lyra Valkyria over really ticks a box for her because I think she likes her.
Yeah. The only thing I feel as though with the situation, very rushed.
Yeah.
I feel as though they could have had a few weeks maybe build up to sort of tease it.
Tease what?
The turn for Becky Lynch instead of it just being in.
Yeah, I get that, but I also think you wanted to get the tag titles back on Liv and Raquel immediately.
No. What I'm saying to you is, I part of me wish that Becky Lynch have been back sooner and just done it that way, or do it a little longer. But yeah, I know what you're saying. But the problem is, they've got the titles back onto where they are, and one of them's going off to do a movie.
Yeah.
So what they could have done is had Lyra and Becky as the women's champion while she's doing that movie, come back and claim it then, and then it'd be revealed. Because I feel as though a lot of the fans aren't going to exactly initially accept Becky Lynch straight into heeldom from a sudden return.
Okay. Yeah,
if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I agree totally.
It's rushed.
Yeah, I agree with that. What they could have done is they could have had to lose the titles immediately, not had Becky Lynch turn. They could have got another match out of it where they fail again, and it's maybe Lyra Valkyria's fault. We could then have had Becky going into a mentoring role where she's maybe managing Lyra Valkyria for maybe 3-4 weeks, and then do the turn. And you could have got a little bit more out of it, I agree. But also, I think you're looking for matches for the next pay-per-view straight after Mania. We've wrapped a lot up. And Backlash needs matches that mean something. So we need some personal issues. And I suppose this is one, right? So I see also on the other side why they've done it. Can we talk about the Fatal 4-Way match that was announced on SmackDown?
Yes, we can.
I'm excited by this. I think this might be the show stealer.
It could be the show stealer.
This could be Scotty show stealer of Backlash. Or show stealer. Show stealer.
It'd be a big, if I'm honest with you, and this is, I have a feeling that you're going to be shocked at hearing this from me.
Okay.
I feel it would be an even bigger showcase if it was either a triple threat or if a certain individual was switched out.
Really?
Yeah.
Let's just give me 2 seconds. What I'm going to do, Matt Burns, I'm going to just bring it up on the screen.
I have a feeling I know exactly who the second you go through the list, you're going to know exactly who I'm talking to.
I already do. I just, I'm going to bring it up on the screen now, and then I just want you to talk us through, not so much how we got here, but what you think of the match, and why you think removing this person is the best thing for it. Where are we?
Oh, definitely.
There we go.
There you go. Right. Straight away there, LA Knight. Excellent. The current champion, Jacob Fatu. Phenomenal. Drew McIntyre. Always on peak. Damian Priest. What has he done since he's dropped his world championship? What has he done? He hasn't claimed anything. I just feel as though he's only in the picture because he's gripping onto Drew a bit too tightly and doesn't know how to sort of go back down to sort of build himself back up yet. So it feels like he's just clinging on to try sort of keep himself relevant at the moment. It's just look at the match that he had against Drew at WrestleMania 41. Drew pounded him.
I think for me, Damian Priest is a failed experiment. I know that sounds quite harsh, but I just don't get it. I've never got it. And right now, I feel like he's taking up. If he'd have been released this week, I'd have been really happy. Right. Not because I want to see anybody lose the job, just because I feel like he's blocking Karrion Kross. That's how I feel about Damian Priest. He's blocking Karrion Kross.
Oh, that's almost a topic of itself.
Yeah, Karrion Kross is a topic.
That's just a whole topic of itself because I've got so much I could talk about that.
Yeah.
But I just feel as though I'm really excited for the match. But the thing is, we've got a Solo Sikoa always lurking in the realm as well.
We've got to have the Solo Sikoa turning on Jacob Fatu soon. We've got to. We've sent Bronson Reed, not Bronson Reed. Bron Breakker, we've sent big heel.
Yeah.
I feel like we might turn Jacob Fatu babyface. I feel like people are behind him. I feel like if we turn Solo against him, we could turn him into a decent babyface. Not for a long time, but for a good time.
he's popular.
Yeah, exactly.
And he's popular, he's charismatic. And for a big man, he can move. He can move.
Yeah, I agree.
So pretty much what
Sky's the
better
limit for
way?
Jacob Fatu, right?
Yeah. What better way to get Jacob up that extra rung and also bring Solo back up into healdom?
Before we go any
on a
further,
brother.
then, before we go any further, then, and this isn't a scored prediction, Matt Burns, but I want an early prediction before it makes sense for that fatal four-way.
Oh, that Jacob Fatu.
Yeah, I think it's a retain. I do too, but I'm looking forward to the match in any case. Right.
Yeah. Well,
from one charismatic. Go on.
Before we go there, the only thing I want to just give a bit of a shout out, and this is for carrying, because you mentioned carrying cross.
All right. Okay.
Right. If anybody's interested, he's just recently released a documentary.
I've seen this. Yeah. I haven't watched it, but I've seen it.
Watch it. It's eye-opening. If WWE, if this isn't a part of WWE, Carrion is already assuming he's gone.
Really?
And if it is, this could potentially could make Karrion Kross a face.
I read something last week that Triple H was actually really high on him.
Yeah.
I mean, if he is really high on him, maybe you should try using him. But
no, trust me, the interview actually showcases on how much he actually cares for the business.
I believe it.
He shows such a wonderful side to him in it. And I recommend anybody to watch it because it's a good watch.
Yeah.
It's a really good watch.
Yeah, and I've only seen so many people in my life be able to break a baseball bat with a submission. If you haven't seen that, that's really cool. Right, let's move on from one charismatic enigma to another. It's Steve Austin's Stone Cold Steve Austin. And what's up with him, Matt Burns? Well, I'll tell you what, he's open to one more match, is what he's saying. It's revealed that although he wasn't interested in dressing as a prime bottle, he would consider returning to the ring for one more match if the storyline and opponent were compelling enough. But he's emphasized the importance for the right opportunity to make a comeback.
Well, right now, his final match is against Kevin Owens at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and it was really good. Right, we enjoyed
really
that,
good.
Yeah?
But
don't get me wrong, it wasn't a 5 stars in the Tokyo Dome.
No, but come on,
it was in terms of an entertainment spectacle. It was absolutely what it needed to be.
Did anybody expect Austin take a suplex to the floor?
I mean, no, but
no. But it happened. It was like, what the hell?
Fair dues to Kevin Owens for suggesting it.
That's what I'm saying. Now, for me, I feel as though if we're going to do it, there's one match that I would clamour for.
Yeah.
For it. Just in regards to the personalities of them.
Okay.
Because one drinks beer and the other doesn't.
Oh, you want to see Austin and Punk?
That'd be
wowzer.
That'd be a wowzer. But
do you think it's too late?
That's what you just hit the nail on why I'd love it, but I feel as though it's past, especially with Punk being the one to immortalize that moment.
Yeah, I'd much rather see him against an up-and-comer. Like, for me, I'd like to see him against a Braun Breaker, a Jacob Fatu, a Bronson Reed.
I feel as though so basically you want him up against Braun Breaker just so you can see Austin get snapped in half.
I just want to see him against and putting an up-and-comer over really excites me for that.
No, it's a good way of doing it, but the thing is, who would be the perfect guy for Austin to put over? Braun's a good one.
Braun Breaker, yeah, would be my choice.
Braun's is a really good one, especially with the whole Heyman guys faction.
I'm going to make an early prediction now. I think Braun Breaker is Cena's last match, and I think Cena puts Braun Breaker over. Genuinely.
I'll tell you now, Braun Breaker is a future world champion.
Oh yeah, obviously. Listen,
Guaranteed.
in 5 years, maybe sooner, the main event scene in WWE looks like this: Braun Breaker, Bronson Reed, Dominic Mysterio, Jacob Fatu, Carmelo Hayes, Montez Ford. That's for me. That's my prediction. That's what the top 6 wrestlers in the business look like in 5-6 years.
The only one I think is not going to fit on that for me is Carmelo Hayes.
Melo's money.
He's good, but I feel as though he's
let me go with him. I've got a lot of time for him. Maybe no. But
I've got time for him. I just feel as though he's being pigeonholed into the Ricochet space gap at the moment.
Yeah, at the moment. And listen, a lot can change, right? But
I hope it changes. I want it to change.
Yeah, let's talk, right, wanting to change and things changing. Let's talk about a world where everything's always changing, and that world is TNA Wrestling, right? So, last couple of years, it feels like we've had 6 different people running TNA. Ever since Scott D'Amore unceremoniously left the company, and things have changed again this week, and I think for the better. Actually, Matt Baines, this is a big thumbs up from me for TNA. TNA Wrestling is implementing a new policy banning blading and excessive blood during matches, and this decision aligns with a move towards a more family-friendly presentation. Now, I'm 2 thumbs up for this. I'm not sure about how you feel. I know you're much more a fan of wrestling in the 18 to 35 demographic.
Right. As much as I could sit there and say, oh, it's not right, they could be able to do whatever they want and everything. No. I'm sorry, but I actually agree with you on this one.
Yeah.
It might shock people. No, I agree. I think the reason, to be honest with you, I'm surprised it's actually taken this long for it to come into place. I'm surprised it hasn't happened sooner.
They've done some crazy stuff on there, right?
Yeah, the fact that you've got barbed wire massacre matches, enough said. Sami Callihan's on there, enough said. Mace Warner is on there, enough said. Put them together.
Days of Abyss, right?
Yeah.
The place has always had a violent streak in it. Hardcore Justice, prime example. They named a pay-per-view over it.
I'm just trying to remember the name. Full Metal Mayhem.
Yeah,
is a match as well.
Shout out to Connor.
What?
No, carry on.
I see what you just did there. That's clever. That's clever. But anyway, for me, I feel as though with it, it's about time, because they need to be getting more, certain demographic in it. And I feel as though the track that they're going towards is more of a. I feel as though it doesn't need the blood.
TNA need to do everything they can, right? And here's my work. Here's my showing. Wrestling companies that get talked about a lot on social media, TV, podcasts like this one, etc. Right? WWE, yep. AEW, GCW, New Japan Pro Wrestling, AAA.
Yep.
TNA get very, very little coverage.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's because it's LOL TNA, LOL Impact. Maybe because it's been around so much, and we it's almost an afterthought these days.
Pretty much.
TNA is turning into a really good promotion. It has done for the last few years. From when Josh Alexander was flying the flag for him, and Scott D'Amore was the lead creative. And I think it's going from strength to strength. I think some great talent over there. Obviously, the agreement with WWE's brought a lot of eyes back to the product. But I think for me, if TNA wants to continue its growth, and that's what it should be looking to get out of this WWE partnership, is growth, they need to make some of the right decisions. And this is one of the right decisions for me.
No, I agree wholeheartedly.
Because what they're doing is they are bringing in the next generation of fans. So,
yes.
And WWE have done this, right? So WWE have done this very quietly. So they went back to a family-friendly late 2000s, early 2010s, go through the PG era, right? Where they get loads of new fans who are young, who may be fans for life. Because then when we hit now, and some of those fans are becoming that 18 to 35, 40 demographic, they want to see more adult content, and you twist it slightly. You don't have to do it majorly, but you can do it a little bit. You know, Cody can say, "Rock, fuck you." Excuse my French. We'll beep that out. And yeah, we, you know, Rock can, we can say those things, and it just skews slightly older. But then, as soon as we need to bring more new fans in, we can do it again. We can move back to PG, and then do you know what I mean? So it's not we are PG and we're PG forever.
The weird thing about it is when people instantly think of this, they're just thinking, "Oh, it's forever." No,
things change, man. Things change
a smart
very
move
quickly in this world. Yeah, I agree.
It's a smart move. What they're doing is they're bringing in a future demographic for them later to keep them engaged. And I feel as though this is the right decision for the company as a whole, because they've done certain angles still without any blood or anything.
Yeah.
And it's still been entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. Let's go on to my favorite piece of news from the week. And I'll tell you for why. Because it's really interesting. WWE announced this week that 2025's Crown Jewel event will not take place in Saudi Arabia, as has been tradition for the last few years. For the first time, signaling a shift in their international event strategy, Crown Jewel will be a new location, and that's going to be Australia.
Hang on.
Yeah, so Crown Jewel coming from Australia this year.
Yeah.
And this is why it's so exciting to me, right? Because there may be some context here that we're not sure of. So we know the initial WWE Saudi deal from God knows when. I mean, I don't know if you want to do a quick bit of research for me there, Matt Burns. When that deal was initially signed,
okay.
My guess is that it was 2015. That's my guess. And it was a 10-year deal. That's where I am right now. I also saw images recently.
10 years.
Pardon?
10 years.
Yeah, so it's the end of the 10-year deal. So
no, it's not. That's not the biggest shocker. It's not the end of the deal yet.
All right, okay.
It's not over, because it was announced a 10-year strategic partnership with the Ministry of Sport, which was in 2018.
Okay, but we're coming to the end of that deal, right? So we got this is why it's exciting news to me. So we got renegotiations upcoming, because these things take a long time to get signed. So A, renegotiations. B, there was an image circulated last week in the news of Vince McMahon and The Undertaker in Saudi. What they're doing over there, who knows? But there's still rumors of what Vince McMahon's doing these days. What he's going to do next. This isn't a guy that stays quiet. You know, he will be doing something in the space eventually. We're just waiting for an announcement. That's how I feel about it anyway. Also, the fact that they are using that pay-per-view name Crown Jewel outside of Saudi Arabia, because I was almost of the opinion that these were landlocked events. And it just proves once again that pretty much anything is possible. You know, imagine if Crown Jewel had been announced for the UK. We'd have been like, whoa, Clash at the Castle was or is in Paris this year.
Mm.
You know, just
I'm actually wondering if the reason why, hang on, if my research is correct, here, we won't have had a Saudi show main event, this year.
Yeah, but remember what their big 2026 is. They've got the Rumble next year.
They've got the Rumble, which is probably why they're sort of just easy. You know,
they've got a big four next year. Do you know
they've got one of the big four. I think what they've done here, I think they've decided to pull back the Crown Jewel, because if you think about it, the Crown Jewel would have been about November. Yeah. So instead of doing there, they decided, hang on, we've got the Rumble. Why don't we take an extra?
Yeah. Also sounds like King and Queen of the Ring have been postponed this year as well, or decided not to go ahead with. Here's the last point, though, Matt Bins, that I wanted to bring up. If this event isn't taking place in Saudi Arabia this year, what are they doing with the Crown Jewel Championships?
I get the feeling they could actually use it on Crown Jewel. in
Because
Perth.
the Crown Jewel Championships are in the vault in Saudi, right? And you get a ring for winning it. So I just wonder what happens with that this year. Genuinely, I have no idea what happens with that. It's just very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is just one of those watch this space moments. But, Matt Burns, I'm really interested to move on because I've got something exciting to put forward for Buried Alive.
Okay, so do I need to get the shovel ready?
I hope so.
Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today for Buried Alive.
Buried Alive, yeah, baby. Right, Buried Alive. This is our Room 101 segment where we take something from the world of wrestling, be it a storyline, an angle, a wrestler, a character, something that we don't like in the world of professional wrestling, and we decide to bury it alive, similar to UK's BBC's Room 101.
Yeah.
And this week, Matt Burns, I want to bury something alive. Now, I've been successful at times in this segment, and I've been unsuccessful at times in this segment. And today, because I'm bringing it forward, you get to be judge, jury, and execution. I want... Do you know what? I wrote some stuff down. I made some notes. So let me go through it, and then you can give me your verdict at the end, okay?
Okay.
No. There's a special place in Buried Alive for things that promised so much but gave us so little. When AEW Collision was first announced in 2023, it felt like the dawning of a new era. Saturday nights were going to matter again. Saturday. CM Punk's show, a 2-hour celebration of wrestling for the hardcore fan. Dynamite's edgier, moodier brother, a throwback to the days where two brands could coexist and feel distant. And what we got instead was a case study in how quickly momentum can die. I mean, this flopped hard. So let's bury this thing alive and cover it up with the dirt of broken promises, broken booking disasters, and Saturday night obscurity. So let me talk you through it. The false dawn. 2023's great hope. Collision could have been AEW SmackDown in 2002, the work rate show, a haven for stars crowded out of Dynamite. CM Punk was framed as the leader. Andrade and Miro returned. FTR are going to anchor the tag division. The lighting was slick. The commentary team was fresh. And for 3 weeks, Collision felt essential. And then the wheels came off. So let's not tiptoe around it. Collision was built entirely around one man, CM Punk. When Punk was around, the show had focus. When Punk was fired, the show lost its spine overnight. Without him, it became Dynamite dark. The supposed roster split died. Stars floated back to Wednesdays. Saturday Night Crew became patchwork of whoever wasn't booked elsewhere. Andrade vanished. Miro floundered. House of Black sat in lit like a dimly lit room, doing nothing for months. A show can't survive when it's a one-man ecosystem, and Punk's absence exposed just how little infrastructure that was in place. We thought Saturday night was going to work for a weekly wrestling TV product. But what we didn't think is actually it's 2025, so it probably won't. Pay-per-views killed it twice a month. UFC killed it every other weekend. College football killed it in the autumn. And even when nothing big was on, the audience just didn't show up. Viewership became an unpredictable roller coaster of lows and lower lows. It wasn't appointment viewing. It was DVR fodder. It was Sky Plus all over. The booking black hole. So once Punk left, Tony Khan's booking strategy became, let's just tape Rampage at the same time and pretend it's fine. Feuds lacked heat. Storylines started and stopped without warning. The big stars, MJF, Swerve, Omega, they were Dynamite exclusive, and Collision became a holding pattern. Good matches, no consequences. Christian Cage trying to hold the show together by sheer force of Captain Charisma, but even when he couldn't drag the undead corpse back to life every week. And by 2025, it was already forgotten. So by the time we got to this year, Collision had no identity. It was no longer the Punk show. It wasn't the work rate show. And it wasn't even appointment wrestling. I thought it was done. It was just 2 more hours Tony Khan had to fill, a glorified Rampage. And when Collision taping started drawing underwhelming crowds, AEW quietly folded them back into Dynamite taping nights. The death nail wasn't even announced, but it was deafening. So let's bury it alive. It could have been a great alternative show. It could have been the SmackDown to Dynamite's Raw, but instead it became a graveyard for missed opportunities. Grab that shovel, Matt Burns, because even timeless Tony Storm can't save Collision.
Right. I'm just this moment trying to see this week's episode of Collision, the results.
Oh, is that what we're going to do? Let's go through it and let's see if it's rubbish.
I was hoping I'd actually have a defense point here.
There is no defense. Collision's
No, wait. I was hoping there was a defense. But how do I do it? How do I explain it? It's got more holes than someone who's tried to grass on the mob, the Italian mob. It's got more holes.
Holy person.
Yeah, it's got more holes than someone being gunned down by the mafia.
Oh dear.
Genuinely, I'm looking here. It's like we're starting off with World's Women's Championship eliminated. Timeless Tony Storm versus Lady Frost. Okay, good match. And everything.
No consequences.
But Tony Storm wins with a submission. She's
No
already got. But the real question is why is there a World Championship eliminator when technically Tony Storm's already got her real threat already there?
Yeah.
Which is Megan Bain, who's on the show later on.
Yeah.
So why isn't Megan getting herself involved?
You tell me, Matt Baines.
We've then got a $100,000 high-speed collision. Rush versus Sammy Guevara versus Kevin Knight versus AR Fox. So basically people who can do flips.
Yeah, anybody who can do flips can be in this one.
Right. Then we've got Megan Bain versus Harley Cameron. Right, guess who won? Megan Bain. Enough said. Yeah. Moxley comes out and speaks. Moving on. What? That might be the main scene. Why should I care? Why should I care?
That is the question. Why should you care?
Right, because you've got him talking. It seems to be more interesting on Dynamite, where you got Joe literally demanding for a steel cage, solid steel cage match and everything. But it's like he's trying to say, well, Samoa Joe doesn't understand, blah, 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 and everything. Really?
Matt, are we burying it?
Brody King versus Josh Alexander. Who cares? Both of them, basically what that just said to me in that match is, time limit draw, you're both jobbers.
Ouch.
Because...
But seriously, though, is it time that we put Collision out to pasture?
Oh, I'm gonna get to it in a minute. Because I might have to yell at it at this rate. What's that say to you? Max Caster, best wrestler alive challenge. Shoot him in the head. Because he should have a new gimmick. The AEW version of the Job Squad. Because that's all he is. Gates of Agony versus Ray, Jazz, and Goldie. Who cares for either team? We don't see him enough. And then the main event, 2 out of 3 falls, FTR versus Paragon. There's your highlight. The main event. So 2 or 3 matches. And how many matches have we just gone through? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, no, that's 5, 6. 7, 8, 9, 8 matches in a segment. Never include the in between segments on a 2-hour show that's on SmackDown, where you only care for 3 matches. Something's wrong there.
What we're doing then, Matt? I move to bury it alive. I think it's time to put it out to pasture. I've had enough of it. Collision, failed experiment. The CM Punk show that CM Punk appeared on 3 times. What are we doing about it?
Got the shovel, have you already?
Yeah.
Just don't mind me. Put it out to pasture.
And that is buried alive. What's next, Matt Baines? Have you got anything for me?
Yeah. I believe I've got something like a bit of a selection of maybe doing the top 3.
Yes, it's time for the top 3.
I love this segment.
Yeah, this is where we challenge each other to give our top 3s on any chosen subject. Tend to take it in turns. This week just happens to be my turn, Matt Baines, and you're going to challenge me to give my top 3 on a subject that I don't know yet. So what are we doing?
The interesting thing about it is with this top 3 is the fact that it's going to be different than our usual, which is instead of it being always be the top stars, the big favorites and everything, we're gonna actually give some props to certain individuals and give much in respect for what they've done for the craft of wrestling, especially in WWE or in the top companies. Which is, Scott, what are your top 3 jobbers?
Ooh. I'm going to need a second and I'll talk it through while I'm thinking, because I've immediately got a number 1. Nobody else sort of comes to mind straight away. Or maybe got 2. Right, I'm going to go 2. Which means I haven't got a 3rd yet. The 3rd greatest ever jobber. I have. I've got 3. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Right, okay. So number 3, I'm going to go James Ellsworth. That guy turned being a jobber into a full-time job for a few months.
Yeah.
And probably wouldn't have got over if he didn't have such a horrendous face. So even more power to him, because, to try and look like a serious threat when you've got no chin is really difficult. And that guy did it. So number 3 for me, James Ellsworth. Number 2, maybe surprising for you, Matt Baines. Number 2 is Dwayne Gill, also known as Gilberg.
Gilberg.
Low-level jobber. Ironically ended up playing a parody version of Goldberg. Really entertaining. So, yeah. So, my top 3 jobbers. Number 3, James Ellsworth. Number 2, Dwayne Gilberg. And number 1 is the one that came to mind straight away and is the greatest jobber of all time. Prove me wrong. And it's the Brooklyn Brawler, Steve Lombardi. And how could it not be? A bigger losing streak than he had a bigger losing streak than Goldberg had a winning streak.
Yeah.
The back of that guy's boots were scuffed more than the front. I'll put it that way.
Definitely.
Worked everyone, a career jobber, but a really beloved fan favorite. And for me, yeah, Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler, somebody that I genuinely love. And I liked that they brought him back in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Might have been the year 2000. They brought him back onto TV. Well, they brought him onto TV as like an actual character for a really short stint. And I thought that was a really nice touch too. So one more time. Number 3, James Ellsworth, turned one job into a full-time job.
Yep.
Dwayne Gill, who did something very similar, parodying the Goldberg character as Gilbert, but started off as a jobber. So he's my number 2. At number 1, Steve Lombardi, the Brooklyn Brawler. Genuinely, for me, the greatest jobber of all time. If you disagree with my picks, please get them in the comments or the live chats, depending on when you're listening and watching to this. And if you're listening on the podcast this week, please make sure you visit our YouTube at the Burning Truth 251, where you can comment on the video version of this pod. We are on the route to 1,000 subscribers, so please, it's free to do. If you can, we'd love it if you just like the video, give it a subscribe, and share wherever you enjoy your wrestling, whether that's X, Facebook, wherever. We love you forever.
Give us much love. I'm surprised there was another name that wasn't on that list.
Okay, who did I miss?
Barry Horowitz.
A bit before my time, Matt Beans.
Barry Horowitz was a really interesting jobber, but they gave him a win streak over, I think it was either Skip of the Bonnie Donners. And
right, okay.
It became absolutely glorious, but he was by definition a jobber. But I think in number 1 pick, definitely good solid pick there. Definite.
Yeah, Brooklyn Brawler. That's the one for me. Right, Matt Burns, it's time for me to give you the pen. Right, so even though I really enjoyed doing the top 3 there, Matt Burns, it was short and sweet. And what was also short and sweet was the NWO's rise to prominence in the WWF when they returned to WWF WWE from WCW in 2002, the beginning of No Way Out 2002.
Yeah.
I'm challenging you in this Rebook This segment, where we challenge each other to reboot things from wrestling's history that we think we could have done better. I'm challenging you here to reboot the NWO following WrestleMania 18, X8. So at WrestleMania 18, The Rock defeated Hulk Hogan, and unceremoniously that night, Scott Hall and Kevin Nash kicked Hogan out of the NWO.
Yes.
So I would like you to reboot from that point, please.
Now, the problem I've got there is they wrote immediately after. I'm already in deep waters immediately. Because immediately not long after that, Scott Hall suddenly got kicked out of the NWO for not doing his jobs right. But it wasn't that. It was the fact that he ended up having to he wanted to schedule some time off, some leave. So they sort of had to make it a reason for him to not be there, if that makes any sense. So it's a bit of an unusual route that we've got an unusual route to either go down. Do we go down the same route as what WWE did, but change the end? Or do we try something different? Because the problem that we've got is we've got 2 calamities that are going to happen for the NWO, which could very well happen as it being faked, which is that 1, Scott Hall's immediately not there, and then during a match partly way through the rebuild, we know that Kevin Nash is going to infamously tear his quad. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep some of it similar, as much as it might have been bad, but you can't dismiss some of the Booker T and Gold stuff. So it's what I'm going to do instead. I'm going to change a little bit, and instead of having Shawn Michaels come on, I'm going to have them say, you've got another individual coming in. Instead, a serious NWO game changer, a man who has been involved with the NWO in the past and has brought power and fame towards it. So immediately there, and even though we've got Flair, who was normally against the NWO, normally in the past, well, in WCW, he's finally joined it in the WWE version. Now, we've got, Big Show, and instead of doing that big match, if I'm not mistaken, where it was, I believe, Eddie Guerrero, X-Pac, Big Show, and Chris Benoit taking on Booker T. I'm just trying to look up now. I think 1, 2, 3. Yeah, it's something like a 10-man tag match. I'm going to make that into an 8-man and just sort of remove possibly remove RVD out of the heroic side and remove Nash off the other side because he was due to be involved to be returned because he had some time off himself. So then we've got Nash, Eddie Guerrero. We've got Eddie Guerrero, X-Pac, Big Show, and Chris Benoit taking on Booker T, Goldust, Bubba Ray Dudley, and Spike Dudley. We just have Nash make a return and sort of cost, cost the heroes the match. He doesn't get in the ring. He doesn't do the big boost. He doesn't literally tear his quad. We protect him in regards to that. We get him checked up with medical, make sure he's not high strong and everything. Make sure he's not tearing his quad because we don't want Nash out. We need Nash right now because we need more bodies in NWO. Right? Now, if I'm not mistaken, during that match, when you got Nash tearing his quad, not long on the July 15th, originally Vince McMahon came out and announced that, with the NWO music and said it was disbanded, blah, blah, blah. And then announced the new Raw general manager sort of thing. Well, why don't we have basically Vince coming out just now saying he's about to possibly get rid of the NWO because they haven't been the poison that he wants to sort of deal with the situation. But instead, for Eric Bischoff to interrupt Vince McMahon saying, you can't get rid of the NWO because that was never yours in the first place to begin with. You sort of hired and employed us to infect the place. Well, guess what? Too bad. Now, because you don't like the direction that we're in, we're already here. We're taking over. So now we've then got Vince sort of looking like sort of a bit confused why Bischoff's there, and Bischoff makes his intentions known. Yes, I know you gave me the call to come down and be the Raw general manager, but why don't you do you one better and be the Raw general manager and also in charge of the NWO and make sure to push it in the right direction? But I can't be both, so I'm going to go with my baby, the NWO. However you want to run Raw, you can run it however you want. But understand this, we are going to be the outsiders and we are coming in to invade. We are going to take over. And immediately then, you've got Vince is going, are you joking? We've got rid of you, but got rid of you from ages. But then we cue to the backstage, to the to the Raw locker room, and we see that there's been decimation of for many of the Raw roster members being absolutely pummeled, beaten up, and then we get to the the last room with members of the NWO, Kevin Nash, X-Pac, Big Show, and that all standing over many individuals, sort of just going, you were saying? So then what we've then got is the NWO sort of coming in on Raw because the crucial point about this is Vince is the one who let the NWO come in. He's the one who brought the infection in. And now he doesn't want it to be here. He wants to just flush it away. But we've got Eric Bischoff, Kevin Nash, Big Show, X-Pac and everybody all there to sit there and saying, You don't get to call us up and get rid of us that easy. We're here to stay, and we are going to be taking over, whether you like it or not. So it almost feels like a bit of a similar to, the whole WCW thing. But what we need to be doing is right now is building up the NWO to sort of bring in some new names, some alternative names, convert some of the Raw roster over to the NWO and back and forth. Now, one person that Vince McMahon's going to be wanting to bring in is none other than Hulk Hogan. You might not always agree with him. You might sort of thought, okay, but he was the former leader of the NWO, one of the crucial leaders, if I'm not mistaken. Why not bring him back to try to get rid of this NWO? And, Hogan doesn't want any part of it. He wants nothing to do with this. He wants to be staying on Smack. He wants to be away from it. He's done with them. Immediately then, you've then got the issue. Immediately, you've then got the issue from the NWO taking over Raw, which then we could then use that whole scenario. If you remember when they tried to get WCW do their brand on it, where I think it was either Raw or SmackDown, one of them, where they took over one of them. But the NWO could actually do it by force per se. So we can get some of the old WCW staff coming in as potentially NWO associates, threatening the commentary team to get out of their seats so they can take over. Sort of start, and even crossing the line with Vince McMahon by putting a spray painted brand NWO on the canvas, which will be making very, very furious, absolutely angry, because to him, the canvas is sacred, if I'm not mistaken. This all comes down to eventually winner takes all again, but instead it's NWO versus Raw. And we'll have Vince thinking he's got a big trump card in the returning Shawn Michaels. And then Shawn Michaels coming back and he says he wants to be involved, he wants to come back, he wants to help. He brings him in. It's a winner takes over the show. And instead, right, just when you think you got Shawn Michaels in the corner of Team Raw, but then we've got like Eric Bischoff on the Team NWO, and we've probably got the NWO battling out with Team Raw, but the end result ends up being sort of like Big Show's like sort of one of the, Big Show, Nash, one of the last two in the match, but then we've sort of got on the flip side, on the opposite side, we've got like the Dudleys on there, who are Bubba Ray and Spike just barely hanging on. They somehow, eventually, they somehow get rid of Spike. Bubba's on his own. He somehow catches Big Show off guard, dropping him, getting the win. And just when you think it's going to be a WWE victory, we have Shawn Michaels inadvertently cost Bubba Ray the match with with the referee being distracted by Eric Bischoff with a bit of Sweet Chin music. Then Nash get the pin. 1, 2, 3. NWO takes over Raw. This is no longer WWE Raw. This is now NWO Raw. Potentially, possibly even rebranding it to Sold Out. So it's now officially NWO Sold Out. Monday night Sold Out. Potentially. And what we do there, we then present that going forward as the main sort of show for a bit. But as for what we are going to do to address this, I feel as though we're going to have Vince almost clamoring for, SmackDown sort of, do I get SmackDown involved? to try and help me take Raw back? Or if I do that, could I risk it SmackDown being overtaken by the NWO and potentially the NWO actually taking over WWE? What are your thoughts so far?
Wow. Loads there. I really like that, especially the bit at the end where I thought you were going with NWO wins, takes over Monday nights and rebrands as Nitro. That's where I thought you were going.
No, I thought
WWE own the name. That'd be really cool.
Yeah. But I thought to myself, go with Sold Out, because technically that was more of an NWO thing.
Yeah. Depending on how long you left it towards the end, like how long this whole sort of story unfolded, you could then bring SmackDown in and do SmackDown versus NWO for Survivor Series.
Yeah. You know where I'm going.
Yeah, which would have been really cool. I really enjoyed that, Matt Burns, actually. And I was thinking about bangers then, and this is a difficult one, and you have to forgive me, but I don't think I can give 5 bangers, and I'll give you some reasons for why.
That's fine. A lot of it was, I felt as though it's rushed. Some of it was rushed.
Yeah, a little bit. I don't think, we could have thought out some parts of it a bit more. I think there were definitely bits where it could have been improved. I definitely think this is a 4-banger, though. A 4-banger reboot.
I'm happy with that.
Because it's better than what we had originally, which is the main thing, right? It improves on the original, and we extend it. I really liked Eric Bischoff coming back for the NWO. I wasn't a big fan of Flair in the NWO, personal, not for the story, but personal.
I almost had him out as an alternative challenger to take him on with the 4 Horsemen.
Nice. See, that would have been cool as well. But wouldn't have meant as much to a WWF audience as it would a WCW audience.
No, that's why
you didn't do it.
I sort of didn't do it, and I was just thinking myself. And the reason why is because I was actually saving Flair for later.
Yeah, I feel like you've used this as an opportunity to do the invasion slightly better a year later with a different group. So the WCW invasion was crap, so let's do it again with the NWO and make it better.
But I think what made it so really good as well is that if you think about it, it's with the whole invasion, it's not technically an invasion when it's been self-brought upon.
Yeah.
Especially with Vince being the one who brought the poison of the NWO in. And I thought,
but that twist of turning it to we're taking over and bringing the NWO back to what they're supposed to be with Bishop turning up, I really enjoyed that. So yeah, well done, Matt Burns. 4 bangers, I think, well deserved. We'll give you a round of applause. Control room, a round of applause.
I appreciate that, honestly. It was a bit of a tough one because I thought to myself, do I have Shawn come back straight away, or do we have Shawn come back later? And I think I was going to be leading into a bit later on to have the explanation of Vince going, why Shawn?
Yeah.
Why? And it all being come down to, well, bear in mind, how did you react when my brothers had to leave? The curtain call. You weren't happy with it. You literally tore through Triple H. You didn't tear me up because I was the champ. You ripped on one of my friends and everything, but you're too busy being too glad to get rid of Scott Hall and Kevin Nash.
Absolutely, yeah. Listen, Matt Burns, really cool. And that was Reboot This.
Love it.
Yeah, great.
Love it. But that was Reboot This. But right now, I believe it is. I feel like and now the end is here. But yeah, but that's it for episode 368. And what an absolute bombshell of a week we've had. We've had shock releases, Becky's backstage chaos, fatal 4-way madness, and the NWO got the Burns treatment of a decent rebooking.
Yeah, and let's not forget AEW Collision officially buried. Plus those top 3 jobbers. some deep cuts that took me way back. If you felt the heat today, smash that like, share it with your crew, and drop your dream NWO rebooking in the comments.
Oh, definitely love that. And yes, of course, we are always going to be chasing down that 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. Your likes, shares, and comments are the fuel that keeps the burning truth blazing bright.
Yeah, you can follow us everywhere and anywhere on the socials. Just type in The Burning Truth and look for the championship belt that's above my head here behind Matt Burns. If you look for the belt, you can't go far wrong. You can also swing by theburningtruthuk.com for exclusives, merch drops. Matt Burns shows your t-shirt. Don't forget to be awesome. Matt Burns t-shirt that's available now, merch drops, and bonus content you don't want to miss. That's theburningtruthuk.com.
And until next time, stay hyped, stay loud, and remember, as we've already stated already, DFTBA. And in case you don't know what it means, it of course means don't forget to be
Excelsior!